So is it live online right now?
It is going. It is a little bit slow, but it is happening. Yeah, I think it started. You can go ahead, Prabhu. I think it started. Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us online today from different parts of the US and rest of the world. This is the Wednesday evening online program at the ISKCON of Silicon Valley, Mountain View, California. At the ISKCON of Silicon Valley, or ISV as we lovingly call it, like-minded spiritual seekers leave all the stress of mundane material activities throughout the week, and we meet at least 3 times in a week to discuss the topics of higher nature that we take back and try to apply in our lives. Lord Krishna in the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita is compared to sun. Just as sunshine is open to everyone, Krishna and his message in the form of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam are open to everyone. Sunshine is not for any particular nation or a particular country, community, or a person or religion. The sunshine is open for everyone. Similarly, the instruction of Bhagavad Gita is open to everyone. We will start the session by a small kirtan. Kirtan means repeating the names of Krishna with love and devotion. So if you feel inspired, please try to join me behind your muted mics as we chant the names of Radha and Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Varadhari Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. So let's see who just joined. I can see Manju Sharma Mataji from India, Gyan Shankar Prabhu, Hare Krishna, Krishna Sharma Prabhu, Hare Krishna, Divya Mataji, Hare Krishna, Mayank Prabhu, Hare Bol, Hare Krishna. So thank you everyone again for joining. Let's quickly start with the Mangalacharan prayer. So what is Mangalacharan? This is the prayers to the previous authorities. So what we do in ISKCON, in any form, any authentic form of transferring knowledge, we always pass on knowledge from the disciplic succession, which means a guru passes the knowledge down to his disciples, and the next generation passes down to next generation, and so on. And it's our moral duty and obligation to always respect and pray for the blessings of our previous authorities. So if you know the prayers, please you can chant behind the mics at your own convenience. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Rita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpati Gopesh Gopika Kant Radha Kant Namosute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patita Nama Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namne Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschat Dishtarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivas Adi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. All right. That sets a good mood for us. And thank you everyone for joining again. And I can see the faces on the camera. So quite a few of you are familiar. I'm very grateful to you for joining us this evening and morning in some parts of the world, in Dubai and in India. All right. So today's session, we'll be focusing on a key topic. Let's start that conversation from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7. And then we will transition into that topic, which we'll know in a few minutes. Okay. So it's very important that we all participate in the discussion by opening up. Obviously, you are turning on your camera, so that's really great. But then if you can also unmute at some times and participate by asking questions or by volunteering to read a few things on the screen, that is going to make this conversation very, very helpful for everybody. The best conversations are when everybody participates, little or more doesn't matter. But as long as you have this motivation to speak up and read a few things on the screen, that's going to take us a long way ahead in terms of learning. So feel free to raise your hand and volunteer to read this verse from Bhagavad Gita. Or maybe I can start and then one of you can read the translation. So here Krishna is telling Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, there are 4 kinds of pious men who start the devotional service. Those kind of pious men may not be the perfect people in the beginning, but they are just starting to render devotional service. So here Krishna says, Chaturvidha bhajante mam jana sukrito arjuna artho jigyasurartharthi jnani cha bharatarshobha. O best among the Bharatas, 4 kinds of pious men begin to render devotional service unto me: the distressed, the desirer of wealth, the inquisitive, and he who is searching for knowledge of the absolute. So anybody would like to volunteer to read a few lines here?
I can go ahead and read, Prabhu.
Yes, thank you. Purport.
Purport by Srila Prabhupada, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, founder Acharya of ISKCON. Unlike the miscreants, these are adherents of the regulative principles of the scriptures, and they are called Sukritna, or those who obey the rules and regulations of scriptures, the moral and social laws, and are more or less devoted to the Supreme Lord. Out of these, there are 4 classes of men: those who are sometimes distressed, those who are in need of money, those who are sometimes inquisitive, and those who are sometimes searching after knowledge of the absolute truth. These persons come to the Supreme Lord for devotional service under different conditions. These are not pure devotees because they have some aspiration to fulfill in exchange for devotional service. Pure devotional service is without aspiration and without desire for material profit. The Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.1.11 defines pure devotion thus: Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karmadi anavritam anukulyena krishnanu shilanam bhakti uttama. One should render transcendental loving service to the Supreme Lord Krishna favorably and without desire for material profit or gain through fruitive activities or philosophical speculation. That is called pure devotional service. When these 4 kinds of persons come to the Supreme Lord for devotional service and are completely purified by the association of a pure devotee, they also become pure devotees. As far as the miscreants are concerned, for them, devotional service is very difficult because their lives are selfish, irregular, and without spiritual goals. But even some of them, by chance, when they come in contact with a pure devotee, also become pure devotees.
Thank you, Prabhu. So let's take a pause here. So this verse in the Gita talks about 4 kinds of people. Now, in the beginning, nobody is perfect. We all approach temple or church or any other place of worship with some desire. Some people are distressed, some are seeking some wealth, others are inquisitive, and there are more who are searching for the knowledge of the absolute. They are called Jnani. So these kind of people are called pious or Sukrit by Krishna. These have some really good intentions that they are reaching out to the right person. But then there are 4 kinds of other people who are called miscreants. And Krishna calls them earlier, Dushkritana. Dushkritana means miscreants. So Sukrita means good pious activity people, and Dushkritana means people who are creating mischief everywhere. And then for miscreants also, the devotion service is very difficult because they are selfish, irregular, without spiritual goals. But one thing stands out very common between the both categories of people. For both the pious people as well as the miscreants, that they grow in the spiritual association of like-minded seekers. So association is the key here, association of a pure devotee. And for miscreants also, it is written here, even some of them by chance, when they come in contact with a pure devotee, also become pure devotees. So association is very, very powerful here. Now, I'd like to welcome 1 or 2 comments, if any of you can mention any experience that any association in the world, in sports, in career, in spiritual life, that inspired you anytime, 10 years back, 20 years back, 2 days back. Any kind of association that helped you.
In my case, I'm very glad I am associated and Priyanka Mataji. They're really helping me to motivate towards Krishna consciousness. I appreciate them every time they message me and make sure I also do what they do in some parts, like listening to lectures like these and coming to events. I appreciate them doing it. Thank you.
Thank you, Divya. Okay, so yeah, so association, if you keep the association of devotees, they will make sure that you always attend the classes, you attend the kirtans and programs like this. So it's an important thing that that one of the philosophers, actually one of the psychologists of this 20th century, last 20th century, he mentioned. So his name is Dr. David McClelland, and he's counted amongst the top 20 most eminent psychologists of the 20th century. And he was a professor at Harvard. So Professor McClelland used to say, the people we habitually associate with determine as much as 95% of your success or failure in life. So basically what it means is that Srila Prabhupada used to say that if you put an iron rod in fire, it's a hard, strong metal rod. But after some hours, just if you look at that, there's nothing that you are doing except putting the rod in the fire. But then the rod just transforms from hard, brittle, strong metal to red hot fire. And at some point, you can't even practically distinguish between fire and the red hot iron rod. So that's the power of association. And we have this literature called Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which was written 500 years ago. And it brings up top 5 items favorable for devotional service. And out of those top 5 items, one of them is association with devotees. So ever wondered, like, if we associate with some kind of people, we pick up their accent in a few days or in a few months. Maybe they are going to some activities like sports or cinema, and we just start doing the same things, even if we don't want to do those things. They're eating certain kind of food, and we also start picking up those kind of food habits, language, accent, everything, right? So those things are impacted to a great degree at which we associate with what kind of people. And same thing applies with the devotional life. If we are following the path of Krishna consciousness, studying the literature like Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavad Puran, then the association of devotees is very important. So in this regard, this said, yeah. So that literature, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, actually explains us. And it takes the verse from Hari Bhakti Shodhodaya. A man will attain the qualities of the person with whom he associates, just as a crystal takes up the color of the object next to it. So crystal in general, in principle, if you look at diamond is a crystal, diamond is colorless naturally. But if you put in some kind of different association of different colors of clothes or natural lights or anything, it just picks up and it starts reflecting that kind of a light around. So that's the power of association, and our personality starts reflecting the vibes and the energy of the people we start associating with. So I'll stop sharing at this point, and I'll go into a few things. 1 second. Are you still seeing my screen? I think it stopped, right? Okay.
Yes, Prabhu. I can only see your face. Yeah.
So there is a sacred literature called Bhagavad Puran. Some of you might not be familiar with that. It's something that was written down by Ved Vyas after the war of Mahabharata ended. So the beauty of that Bhagavad Puran is it's considered the ripened fruit of all the Vedic literature. So if the Bhagavad Gita is the menu of a restaurant, you go to a restaurant and you order something. So the Gita tells you what to order and what to study and what to do. But then when you order the actual food and start relishing the actual taste of the item, that's the ripened fruit of all the Vedic literature. That's called Bhagavad Puran. So in the Bhagavad Puran, there is a conversation going on between somebody named Kapil Dev. And Kapil Dev is not the Kapil Dev from the cricket world here. Kapil name is the incarnation of Vishnu. So as we know, Vishnu takes various incarnations, and his purpose is to reclaim the devotees and annihilate the miscreants. So he comes as Narsingh Avatar, Vaman Avatar, Matsya Avatar, right? And then there's a Kapila Dev Avatar, and he's sitting with his mother here. So they are discussing some very sublime topics in the Bhagavatam. And then this discussion spans over 8 chapters, over 100 verses. And however, in the opening verses, Lord Kapila Dev starts with a very direct message. So I'm going to share that message here, and I'm going to share my screen again. So now that we mentioned the name of Kapil, and since some of you can relate to the world of cricket coming from the Indian origin, so even though he's not the Kapil Dev from cricket world, but think like opening the cricket match and the first over, the ball goes out of the field, the boundary, the 6 or the 4. So the straight shot, first over, and the ball goes out. That's how the beginning of the game is happening. So he's starting the conversation. In the first chapter of the conversation, Lord Kapil Dev starts with explaining the importance of the association of pure devotees. So here he says, so before we recite Bhagavatam, very quickly a quick prayer here. The prayer means that we should be worshipping Lord Narayan, Lord Vishnu, Narayan, and then Devi Saraswati and Vyasdev before we recite Bhagavatam. So anybody knows this prayer? Ashram Mother Prabhu, or anybody else?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's quickly do that. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudiryayet. So here, Lord Kapila Dev says, Satam prasangan mama virya samvido bhavanti hit karna rasayana katha tajyoshana dashva pavarga vartamani shraddha ratir bhaktir anukramishati. Translation. In the association of pure devotees, discussion of the pastimes and activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very pleasing and satisfying to the ear and the heart. By cultivating such knowledge, one gradually becomes advanced on the path of liberation, and thereafter he is freed, and his attraction becomes fixed. Then real devotion and devotional service begin. So this is where he explains the importance of devotional service. And Srila Prabhupada in his purport explains further, the first point is that one must seek the association of persons who are Krishna conscious and who engage in devotional service. So it's very much like if you are studying medicine, we go to medical school to study. You don't go and sit in the engineering college to study medicine. So similarly, who wants to study computer science, they go to the class of computer science. And for those who are seeking the advancement in spiritual knowledge, they have to seek the association of like-minded spiritual practitioners who are also seeking and are progressing on the same path. And those are the devotees of Lord Krishna. Without such association, one cannot make advancement. Now, some people think that, oh, okay, I can buy a self-help book from Amazon or start meditating in a dark room, sitting in front of a candle, and so many things I can do in my life. But that's all theoretical knowledge. Simply by theoretical knowledge or study, one cannot make any appreciable advancement. So one must give up the association of materialistic persons and seek the association of devotees, because without the association of devotees, one cannot understand the activities of the Lord. Somebody might say that I have a copy of Bhagavad Gita at my home and I'm reading it. So that reading of Gita is not efficient by itself as much as in the association of devotees. So this is the kind of theory part of how the various scriptures, Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavad Puran, enlighten us on the importance of the association of devotees. But then if we go into the practical aspects of the actual people or some stories that we can learn from, I'm going to take you into that kind of part of conversation today. So are we doing good today so far? Everybody's with us? Following? Thank you, Ganshankar Prabhu. Abhishek Alpana, thank you so much. Okay. So there are certain aspects of association. Association of devotees is contagious. So contagious is a good word, by the way. When you call infectious disease, yes, but when you say contagious, the word contagious has evolved over the past years to have a very positive meaning, because smile is contagious, energy is contagious, enthusiasm is contagious, motivation is contagious, positive vibes are contagious. And so is the association of devotees, which is also very contagious. So in this regard, there is a story of a 5-year-old boy. His name is Narada. And Narada actually is known as Devarshi because he's not only a Deva or demigod, he's a Rishi amongst the demigod. He's the topmost saintly person in the world. So before we go to Narad, let's take a look at his previous life. So there was this demigod, or we call it Gandharva. So, if they are different devatas and different superior powers beyond our human scope of understanding. And they are more in the higher realms of the world, in the higher lokas, as we call. So Gandharva, this Gandharva was extremely beautiful, with very nice bodily features, very sharp features, very attractive. And then he was invited to an association to chant and glorify the name of the Lord. It's called Sankirtan. So now if you think of going to a Sankirtan today and you go with a lot of material motivation and say, oh, I'm not going there for chanting the holy name. I'm going there for my material benefit. Let me dress the best, dress to impress, as they call, right? Dress to impress. And let me boast off and talk about all my best things in my life. It's not about the Krishna or Vishnu. It's about me there. All the mundane things I'll talk about. And then he went there hoping to enjoy the association of women because he was very beautiful. He was in contact with some lusty, people around. So, and that's where he disregarded the intent, the objective of that association of Sankirtan event. And then he fell down from his position as the Gandharva. And he was cursed to take birth in a lowly family because he was too proud of his higher status. So now, fast forward, next life, this Gandharva falls down and he takes birth in the form of a human child as a son of a maidservant. Now, when we say maidservant, that maidservant obviously by definition is not rich, right? So she used to serve in different households and do all kinds of chores and cooking and cleaning and all those things, as we see the maidservants these days. They've always been there. But what happens in this case is that she happens to get association of some saintly people. They call Bhakti Vedantas or sadhus. So right now it's a period called Chaturmas, the rainy season, and sadhus, the saintly people, they don't travel much in these kind of environments. So they stay at one place. So those sadhus, those saintly people, those sages were staying at one place during Chaturmas. And this boy, who was the son of a maidservant, along with his mom, he got a chance to associate and meet with these saintly people. And with their mercy, he also got their prasadam, the leftover remnants of their food. So that contagious prasadam, the association, changed the entire life sketch of that person. From somebody who was a heavenly personality, he fell down because of his misdeed, and then he again picks up the association of devotees as sadhus, and now there's a journey on which he embarks. With the association, just small association of momentary, when he got the prasadam from them and when we talked to them, those Bhakti Vedantists, and then he started on a new journey. And now we know, Bhagavad Puran actually tells us in the first canto, the journey of Narad. From there, he started as a 5-year, 6-year-old boy. There are small kids everywhere. But as we say, the things that are contagious don't have to depend on the age or the gender or the status of a person. Even a 5-year-old kid can get the benefit from the association. It is so contagious. So I'd like to welcome any comments, reflections at this point. I know there is a family who has a small kid and maybe they want to share something, how their kid is getting benefit from the association, if you don't mind.
Hare Krishna, everyone. I have a daughter and she's a child with special needs. She's a child who falls on the spectrum. And recently I lost my mother, and that child actually helped me in coping up with the loss. And she helped me in distributing books. She helped me in talking about how we leave our body and the soul goes away. This is just a material body. Like she listens to the lectures and all. And yesterday something happened which I really loved it. Like I was asking her, how can your nanny come back? So she said, Mama, she is not going to come back, and now you have to live with this only. You have to understand that she is not going to come back. And she has gone, and she has gone for good, and she's in a better place now. So these are few things which really motivates you. Like a small child, she can understand. So why can't we? So this is just because of the association. We are taking her to temple. We are reading books with her, and she is getting involved with other people from whom she learns. Like I, as a mother, I think I don't teach her that much, but yes, when she goes to the temple and she's in association of other people, so she learns from there. So that is the thing.
Bravo.
Thank
She's a sadhu. Thank you for sharing. So yes, as we just saw how the association is contagious, and with some reading association and listening to lectures and going to temple, the small child with special needs picks up the devotional service so quickly, and now she is inspiration for not only her family but everybody around herself. So thank you, Mataji, for sharing that. Okay, so let's move on to the next part. So we talked about how the association is contagious. Now, association also transforms some people from inside, right? We see that the child in the previous example we just saw is just innocent child, and he's getting transformed. But then they are, or he's getting, he's not getting transformed. I think the right way to say here is he's getting so inspired by the association because he's already innocent, right? However, transformation is applying, the word transform is for somebody who is on a different end of a spectrum, and how that person moves from one extreme end of violence and barbarism to the other extreme end of devotional service. So we'll talk about that transformation in a bit. But fun fact. So I work in the ISKCON of Silicon Valley, and oftentimes I meet people. So people come to the temple for a variety of reasons. And I meet Bharatnatyam dancers, aspiring people who really want to perform dandiya, and people who want to sell real estate, and who are going to perform on stage for some Indian music concert event, and they want to promote their flyers. So people come to temple with a variety of reasons, and we saw in the beginning, Chaturvida Bhajante Mam. There are 4 kinds of people who come to the temple and Krishna for different kind of desires, and there are a variety of reasons. So now this is a story of somebody who was a Russian spy agent. You can see some smiles on the camera here. So as some of you might know, USSR, after it got into separated into Russia and all the different Soviet countries in 90s, right? And the KGB, the spy agency, got the new name called FSK. So they planted a spy in the temple in one of the Russian locations. The idea was that Hare Krishnas, the ISKCON people, are CIA people, and they are spying on Russia and everywhere, and in India also. In Parliament, this case reached to the Parliament, right? That these Hare Krishnas are the white ISKCON people are the CIA agents. Anyways, so back to Russia now. So that was where the KGB or the FSK agents, they started spying the temple, and in fact, they planted one person in the temple. Now that person started attending the morning program, the morning aarti and the japa session and the reading, and you get the prasadam, and then you read the books and you dance early in the morning at 4:30. What do you expect? With so much of happiness in his life, that person got transformed through the association of devotees, to the extent that he was determined that I would never leave the temple now. The next phase was not good. He was shot. I don't know if shot or some other kind of attempt was made, but he was assassination was attempted by FSK agents on this devotee. And anyways, that's a long story behind that. But the purpose here is, the intent here is to understand that the even extreme end of somebody who came with material motive got transformed And this is not something like that happened millions of years ago, and we are reading, the scriptures which we may or may not be able to relate with. It's a real story which happened in 1996, not too far back. There are numerous such stories where the people come to Hare Krishna association and they get transformed. So in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, again, there is a statement which says that if you are attached to your family and relatives in the material world, don't even look at Krishna. It's a sarcastic way to say that if you look at Krishna, the beautiful deity form of Radha and Krishna, you will get so inspired that you will be detached from your family and relatives and everything automatically. So better, if you don't want to leave them, don't look at Krishna. But even if you are a spy or any agent, come to temple and the devotees will make sure that you will be fully transformed. Now, another story is of Ramayana. Who does not know Ramayana? Nobody. Okay. Can anybody tell who wrote Ramayana? Yes, Prabhu.
Maharshi Valmiki.
Valmiki. All right. So, anybody you can tell who was Valmiki before he became a saint who could write Ramayana?
He was a dacoit.
Dacoit, right? You know the story of the robber, and he got the association of Narad Muni, the same person whose story we just saw, who got inspired by the association of the devotees there, and he further went ahead and inspired another person, Valmiki, the robber in his previous life, and this person Valmiki, or the previous, I think I can't recall his name, Ratnakar, right? His name. So he was so much polluted that he could not even chant the name of Ram. When Narad Muni said, chant Ram, what did he say? Mara, right? Mara means dead, dying. So Ram, he could not chant. He could say Mara. But many years of meditation and service and devotional satsang and the seva, only just with the moment association of a sadhu, he got transformed from a robber to somebody who actually went up ahead and wrote the famous Granth Ramayana. And that's why it is said, Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Shastra Koy, Lava Matra Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Shashti Hoy. So Sarva Siddhi Hoy. Means all these scriptures, Sarva Shastra Koy. Sadhu Sangha, association of devotees is the most important, because lava matra, love is a small count of time fraction of seconds. So one small moment of association with the devotee can change your entire journey. And that is the power of one moment of association with a devotee. So continuing with this discussion on Narad Muni, the next story on Narad Muni is of a hunter, actually. So this story comes up in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is instructing Sanatana Goswami in this story. So there's Narad Muni. He keeps on walking everywhere in the different worlds, and he's walking, and then he's in some way, I think Prayag is written. And then, excuse me. So Narad Muni goes to the forest, and he sees crying, pain, crying with pain, a small animal. I think it was a rabbit. And then he moves forward. Another animal, boar, wild boar, and then another animal, deer. And the animals had arrows pierced in their bodies, their legs were broken, they were in such a pathetic condition. And he felt so much sorrow for those poor animals. And then he noticed there was a hunter standing behind the trees, and he asked, "Who are you?" He says, "I'm a hunter." "Is that what you did?" He said, "Yeah, that's what I did." And hunter was kind of annoyed, because if somebody comes in between his arrow and the animals, right? So he was definitely not happy, but he kind of controlled his anger. He wanted to use some words and some certain things for Naradji, but he controlled himself, and he said, "Okay, what do you want? Narada says, my request to you, just one request. Please kill these animals completely. Do not let them crying in pain. So the hunter says, well, this is what I've been told to do. I have been taught to I've grown up like that with my father. He was a hunter. That's what he taught me. So Nara says, no, I know you're a hunter, and obviously hunting is bad. I mean, you get bad karmas, but that's your livelihood. So you get some offense of that, but that's your, your livelihood. But then you are doing something which is not your livelihood, right? That's something which you are doing on purpose. Consciously you are doing. You are inflicting pain upon these poor animals, these rabbit, deer, boar lying in the forest grass and in the field there. They're crying with pain, with arrows in their body and their legs and all the limbs broken. What do you get out of it? So that transformed that barbaric, brutal hunter. His name is Margari here. An association of a devotee, it transformed him so much. Then he said, okay, I'm ready. I'm willing to do whatever you are telling me to do. Narada Muni says, I need just one thing from you. He says, I'll give you deer skin. I'll give you lion skin, all those tiger skin, all those things, right? Hunters, they have all of these skins. They sell it for the occupation, right? They kill the animal. They sell the parts for different, money and all those things. So that's when Narada said, I just need no tiger skin, no deer skin. I need only one. I have written request for you. Just kill them full. So the hunter was so impressed and inspired by the words of Narada Muni. He says, okay, what do you want me to do? Narada then brings this actual agenda. The first, he kind of motivated him to continue with his hunting and kill them fully. But then he said, don't even kill them at all. Now he picks up the mood of the hunter, because the hunter is getting softened now, right? So he picks up the mood and says, okay, don't just kill them, just do it, abandon your killing, break your bow. Break your bow and arrow, your dhanush, just break it immediately. And then the hunter says, fine, but what will I eat? That's my occupation. So Narada says, don't worry, I'll supply you enough food wherever you go. You just leave your this barbaric occupation and pick up get a tulsi plant, worship tulsi plant, chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra every day, and circumambulate, parikrama, tulsi plant, and just do some basic worship of tulsi every day. And I'll take care of the rest. And the hunter, Margari, was so inspired in that very moment that he immediately followed the instruction of Narada Muni, and he left his bow right there, broke it, and then moved ahead with his wife. He moved to a different place to get a new environment. He started living on whatever people could supply him with charity and his alms. So, and to the extent that he would actually get 10, 20 times more food than he and his wife would need actually. There were just two of them. They would get 20 people worth of food every day. I was like, what am I going to do with this food? At one point, I was thinking that I have to kill. I must be engaged in this merciless kind of occupation to make my living. But now, without doing those kind of painful, merciless things, I'm still getting a lot of food. Somebody's taking care of me. And then he became known as a famous person from a hunter who got transformed into a famous sage-like character. And everybody would send him food and charity and everything. So he was living happily. Now, Narada Muni came one day with another sage named Parvat Muni and says, okay, I want to go and see what's happening in that, in that part of the world. So he decided to go with his friend Parvat Muni, and from a far distance, Margari, he saw the sages coming, and he wanted to run and just pay his obeisances on the floor, Dandavat Pranam, to his spiritual master, to his Guru Narada Muni. But something stopped him. You know what? There were some bugs, some ants and insects on the floor. And when he saw those ants on the floor, he stopped short of paying Dandavat obeisances to his Narada Muni, his spiritual master, because he felt the pain in his heart for those small ants, for those small insects. Even while walking and sitting or lying on the floor, inadvertently we damage the ecology so much. We kill the insects. We just cannot avoid certain things. But this person, if you look at the extreme end of the spectrum, from one hunter who was brutally, painfully, inflicting pain on these animals, not just killing them, but killing them with pain. Now he's not even willing to kill an ant, not to say of big animals. So that's the beauty of association that transformed this person, this Mragari, from a hunter, brutal hunter, to this sattvic, and fully in the mode of goodness, a sage-like character of Mragari, the new face that we see. So first thing we discussed was the association of devotees is contagious, and second is it transforms from within. We heard the stories of Valmiki, we heard the story of the FSK, the KGB agent, and then we also heard the story of Mragari, who got transformed. And then let's take a quick transition into Bhagavatam again, Srimad Bhagavad Puran. And now this is the direct instruction of Krishna. So here, Lord Krishna is speaking with Uddhava. And can anybody tell who is the Uddhava in this entire Krishna Katha?
Cousin of Lord Shri Krishna.
Okay, cousin. And
he was also a disciple of Lord Krishna.
okay.
That is where we
was
have
a very good friend, was devotee.
Good friend, and that is where in Bhagavatam 11th canto we have this Uddhav Gita. He gives, Lord Krishna gives instructions to Uddhav.
Yes. So he used to love Krishna so much that in his childhood he used to play, worship the deity form of the dolls of Krishna. Right, Prabhu?
Yes, that is correct.
So now here, Lord Krishna is explaining the importance of association with devotees to his friend Uddhava in the Uddhava Gita. And this is the 11th canto, what Prabhuji just mentioned. So I need some different volunteer this time who can read the first verse here, first and second. Krishna Prabhu, yes.
Text 1 and 2, Prabhu, right?
Text 1 and 2, yes, this one.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "My dear Uddhava, by associating with my pure devotees, one can destroy one's attachment for all objects of material sense gratification. Such purifying association brings me under the control of my devotee. One may perform the Ashtanga Yoga system, engage in philosophical analysis of the element of material nature, practice nonviolence and other ordinary principle of piety, chant the Vedas, perform penances, take to the renounced order of life, execute sacrificial performances, and dig wells, plant trees, and perform other public welfare activities, give in charity, carry out severe vows, worship the demigods, chant confidential mantras, visit holy places, or accept major and minor disciplinary injunction. But even by performing such activities, one does not bring me under his control."
Thank you, Prabhu. So here Krishna says very explicitly, and very clearly he is telling, and now we have two Krishnas, Lord Krishna and our devotee Krishna, who just volunteered to read this. Thank you, Prabhu. So, so he mentions all of these things. People these days have this tendency to engage in various social activities, non-profits, charity, for poor people, for hungry people in different kinds of the parts of the world. Recently, I met a person who is in the US, but actually she is leading an initiative to help the poor women of India. So different kind of social welfare activities are happening. People do different kind of andolan or the movements, and different parts of the world have seen those kind of movements, like different revolutions and social empowerment activities. But then Krishna says all of these things you do, social welfare and sacrificial performances, yajnas, giving charity, austerity of severe vows, worship the devatas, demigods, chant confidential mantras, visit holy places, does not bring me under control. what brings Krishna under control is purifying association. By associating with my pure devotees, one can destroy one's attachment for all objects of material sense gratification. And then he continues going on further. He says, Krishna says to Uddhava, in every yuga, many living entities entangled in the modes of passion and ignorance gain the association of my devotees. Thus, such living entities as the Daityas, Rakshasas, birds, beasts, Gandharvas, Apsaras, Nagas, Siddhas. So these are all the celestial beings. So beyond human life, we have all of the celestial living beings who are in different planetary systems. Charanas, Goyakas, Vidyadharas, as well as such lower class human beings as Vaishya, Shudra women, and others were able to achieve my supreme abode. Vritrasura was a demon. Prahlad Maharaj was son of a demon, as we know, Hiranyakashipu's son. And others like them also achieved my abode by association with my devotees. So another person here, Prahlad Maharaj, associated with Narad Muni. As did personalities such as Vrishaparva, Bali Maharaj, Barnasura, Maya, Vibhishan. We know Vibhishan, right? He was a devotee of Lord Ramachandra. Sugriv, Hanuman, they were animals, not even humans. Jamavan was a bear. Gajendra was an elephant. Jatayu was a vulture, right? Some eagle, right? A celestial eagle. So Tuladhara, Dharmavyat, Kubja, the gopis in Vrindavan, and the wives of the Brahmanas who were performing sacrifice. So there are different stories in our scriptures. Some of them are mentioned in Bhagavad Puran, but some of them are from different, like Ramayana and others. So, but the essence here is that Krishna tells Uddhava that the empowerment that we get, the transformation that happens with the association of devotees is not limited or restricted only to a certain class of men, a certain class of species. It happens to everybody. And the example we see is 500 years ago, when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was walking through the forest of Jharkhand, he would do the kirtan. And with the kirtan, all the animals like tigers, lions, elephants would jump with joy with him. So there Krishna further explains, the persons I have mentioned did not undergo serious studies of the Vedic literature, nor did they worship great saintly persons, nor did they execute severe vows or austerities. Simply by association with me and my devotees, they achieved me. So now, here Krishna says, the third message which I'm trying to explain today is that association of devotees is not a peripheral activity. It's not a tangential or accessory that, yeah, we must also do this kind of a thing. Here Krishna says that everything else is secondary, but association of devotees is the core, the central, the focus of everything. And everything else is a waste or is not as much as efficient if we are not getting the right association of devotees. The sadhu sangha or association is the most important thing. And this is why it is called the core or the central objective that we should be trying to achieve. So it is like a common question sort of time comes that I cannot chant every day, I cannot read every day, I'm unable to follow regulative principles, or I cannot do fasting and all those things, right? So if we have to choose between pushing yourself aggressively on certain spiritual objectives versus maintaining a harmonious association and spending some good time with devotees, to the association. Because association will bring all the changes in you, whatever you have been trying to accomplish on your own. And it's not me, it's Krishna saying here that all of these severe austerities and studies of Vedic literature did not affect these people, did not influence these people as much as they were influenced by the association of devotees. So moving on to the next topic today. Now we understand association is contagious. I can see some chat messages. Let's look at the chat message here. Okay, so this is coming to personal message to me. Okay, thank you, Mantrasiddhi. So the next thing is the
Prabhuji, you have a message on Facebook. Should I read it to you?
Yes, Prabhu, please.
So there's a message from Sasi Sharma Mataji. She's saying your mother is watching you. Yes.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Good.
Okay. So the next topic, the next idea that I would like to communicate today So anybody would like to summarize the three things that we discussed so far before we move on? Yes, Gyanshankar Prabhu.
Prabhuji, I have a question here. I think you talked about three things. First of all,
Yes.
The contagious and the transformation from within and the core here. I did have a question. Fundamentally, what happens with association? Is it that you are disconnecting with the things around you and connecting with God as you are spending more time with like-minded people? How does this transformation how does association become the leading part of this devotional activity?
So it's a very great question. Thank you for bringing up the topic, Prabhu. So since you live in California, I'm sure you're familiar with the season coming, which is wildfire.
Yeah.
Right. So it is said that fire is inherent, is innate in every piece of wood, right?
Yeah.
It gets ignited when there is a rubbing of trees, rubbing of the friction, or another fire comes from a different tree.
Yeah.
So the Krishna consciousness is not an artificial imposition on us. As part and parcels of Krishna, we are all naturally Krishna conscious. This tendency is innate, is inherent in us.
Yes.
What association brings us is fanning the spark. There's a spark inside us, and the association just fans, just gives some air.
Okay.
And we get the association of like-minded people. And we automatically feel motivated and inspired to associate more with them.
I truly agree with you. Ever since I've been involved with it, about a year ago, getting to know you and some other devotees near where I live, it has really introduced me more and more to Krishna, and getting more devotional towards it. So there's no question about it. But just wanted to know, how does it really bring about? And perhaps, as you said, the spark really grows as you are associated with more and more people, like-minded people, and you see the liveliness in the activities that goes on as a result of this. So, thank you.
So, I hope that answers the question, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we know the characteristics of association. Now, at this point, we understand that it's important. But then let's steer into the practical aspects of association. And the practical aspects is, how do we actually associate? And what are the various ways that the communication happens between the different group of people or different group of devotees here? So there is a very important role of counseling in our lives. No matter how much experience or expert we are in a certain field, at some point of life, we feel a need for counseling. I may be an expert in technology like coding or engineering roles in my job, but when it comes to my next job or next level in the career, people reach out to professional career coaches. From engineer, I want to become a director or a VP. So where is the career coach? There are some programs on LinkedIn and online tutorials are there, or there are some HR executives who train people on those things. There are some people who are buying real estate every now and then, but then they still look out for counseling or mentorship or communicating with more experienced people, of going beyond my comfort zone and trying to do something different in a different area, let's say different geography. I may be an expert in real estate in California, but if I want to invest in New York, I might need somebody who is more expert in that area. So counseling, knowledge sharing, and role of guidance is very, very significant in regards to association. So then here's a story I like to tell. Not a story, it's a very small incident. So coming from the pastime of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his childhood classmate, his name is Mukunda Datta here, they grew up together. They would play together, they would engage in friendly fights, they would dance together. And that's how they grew up. But then Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also took the opportunity to correct and chastise his friend Mukunda Datta at certain occasions, because he used to attend many functions and different social activities which were organized by the different classes of non-devotees. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to call his friend Mukunda Datta as a Khada Jatiya. And I am not a Bengali, so kindly excuse my pronunciation, but just that's how it's written in the book. It's called Khada Jatiya Beta. Because he is trying to bring his friend to the right association, because his friend was, his Mukunda Dattaji was going to a different association of non-devotees. So that's the importance of association. Example, we can see that how the role of counseling would come into picture. And then this is Mukunda Datta. Then there is another story of his brother. His brother's name is Vasudeva Datta. So now Vasudeva Datta is such a powerful character in the Chaitanya Charitamrita and Chaitanya Bhagavat. It is said that Vasudeva Datta practically purchased Krishna with so much of love and affection he had. He used to love Krishna so much that he was such a nice, such a sweet devotee, that he wanted to suffer himself for the sinful activities of all the people of the world. He would pray to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Mahaprabhu, please deliver, please mukt, liberate these kind of people and give all of their sins to me so I can suffer for them. And this is the beauty of his devotion. And then Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was so pleased, so happy with Vasudeva Datta that he affectionately called him that I am only your man. I am only Vasudeva Datta's man. My body is only meant to please Vasudeva Datta, and he can sell me anywhere. In fact, 3 times he vowed that I am actually Vasudeva Datta's man, and nobody should disbelieve these statements. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is he's personally God himself, as incarnation of combined incarnation of Radha and Krishna, as we know, he came to propagate the message of Sankirtan movement, in the modern world. So he's not different from Krishna. And then he was so much affectionate toward Vasudeva Datta. And it means that Dattaji was living in a proper association. What else can he get in his life when he is getting so much of affection and reciprocation of love from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right? But one of his good characteristics was pointed out by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Vasudeva Datta was so affectionate and so loving to all the people around him towards the world, and he was so caring that he was such a big philanthropist person. He would not save any money for himself. He would spend all the money for serving the devotees. And he was a grasta, he was a householder. And which means he was also supposed to take care of his family as a responsibility, right? But his love and affection for devotees was overpassing or overtaking his material or social responsibilities. So that's where the role of counseling comes into picture. There is another person in the same story. His name is Shivananda Sen. And Shivananda Sen was a rich person. He would take people on pilgrims to Jagannath Yatra and sponsor everything. Anybody sponsors your trip from the US or anywhere else in the world to say, hey, I'll sponsor a trip to Jagannath Puri or any other part of the world. So Shivananda Sen was such a compassionate person and rich person as well, that he would feel the compassion for everybody, and he would just take everybody, sponsor the trips to Jagannath Puri. He was a good person in money management, by the way. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he mentioned to Shivananda Sen that take care of this Vasudeva Datta very nicely. He is very liberal. we all know he's very sweet, very he compassionate towards everybody in the world, and he spends all the income he receives to all the devotees. He just does not keep anything for himself. Such a big philanthropist he is. But then, being a householder, we have our responsibilities. So he needs some money for himself. And because he's not doing his responsibility towards his family, it is getting difficult for Vasudeva to maintain his family. So that's a role of counseling that comes into picture here. With Vasudeva Datta, even in the devotional life, he had achieved the perfection in the devotional life. Even after that, somebody like him needed counseling. And that's the association of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Shivanand Sen provided him what he needed. So this is the story from Chaitanya Charitamrita. And then one last thing I'd like to discuss today, how to inspire hope in others. So another important role of association of devotees is to inspire motivation, is to encourage others, is to empower others. A lot of times it happens that we are doing certain things for the first time. Anybody in the audience would like to share something that you did for the first time, maybe, and maybe any occasion where you felt that people were not encouraging you and you felt a little disheartened, or maybe you felt really encouraged by what people were doing to you. It was in some class or some school presentation, at the work, anywhere. I'd like to just take some reflections and make sure the audience are with me.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please don't feel shy. If you have something, then please unmute and share. The speaker will feel encouraged.
Thank you, Prabhu. So if not, then I will share about myself, how I felt. So when I first came to Hare Krishna's ISKCON, I did not know what was happening, but it was back like 18, 19 years ago, 2003, 4. And the person with whom I was associating, so that person happens to be my my college professor, director, and the warden in charge of the dorms, as we call hostel in India. It's called dormitory in the US or dorms. We call it hostel in India. So he was the warden of my hostel. So we used to see his students, we used to see his very strict discipline kind of a face in the college. But then somebody took me to his home one evening, and then I saw him wearing dhoti and chadar, and he was jumping like this. So I was so surprised and was amazed. Wow, what is this? This is a totally different face of such a person we used to see in the college in daytime, and now this is a different environment. And I had never been to a religious association where people would be jumping and dancing and then doing kirtan. And it was so inspiring to me. So I felt a lot of surprise, encouragement as well from that association. So we do certain kind of things. Now I will take a liberty to take some liberty here to share a personal story. I'd like to ask our host if Ashram Mother Prabhu, is it okay to share some funny part of this? It's not from any Shastra. Is that okay?
Yes, Prabhu, of course. Yeah, anything which inspires.
So when I thank you, Prabhu. So when I used to go to that association of the evening program in my hostel wardens, my professors, my director's home, and I used to see, this person, he is doing the arati, he is showing the lamp and the agarbatti and everything to Lord Krishna's, the deity. And then he comes back to the wall, and there's a picture of a political figure on the wall. And that my guru, that person who would be offering the deepak, the lamp, to that political figure. And that political figure, I could relate his name. So I'm going to share. Am I still sharing my screen? Am I right? I am, right?
No problem. You're not sharing at this.
So I'm going to share my screen and tell you who that political figure is. His name is Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. So look at this picture. And he's a famous political figure in India. And I was wondering why in the earth even people have Gandhi and Nehru and Winston Churchill and Abraham Lincoln and all these people in their homes. So maybe my professor, he's too inspired by Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. He would offer lamp and deepak, everything, to a flower to the picture of Sardar Patel. So then eventually I found out after a few months of association, reading some books, that the person actually is not Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, but his name is Srila Prabhupada. Because if you look at the Prabhupada's picture, and I did not know Prabhupada is, so his picture is quite similar, familiar face, I would say, Sardar Patel to me. I would say this picture on his wall, he would offer the lamp and agarbatti and flower to Srila Prabhupada. So I was such, ignorant. And it's a funny thing, I still recall what used to happen 19, 20 years back. I can still, I laugh at myself sometimes, what my thought process was. But coming from such an, ignorant background, not knowing who Prabhupada was, and then my journey is full of so many stories where I see a lot of people have inspired and empowered me at different occasions. And it's all coming through the association of devotees. And then you would go to ISKCON temple and you will see people there singing and dancing. And then very soon you become a part of that. But in the very beginning, there is some hesitation, some level of shyness. Any hands up or nobody? So everybody comes to temple and dancing on the first day?
Especially if they come to ISV, they do that, yeah.
Yeah, on Sunday
Because
afternoon, if you come there.
Yeah, it is so infectious that they do it in the first day itself.
Yeah, that's so true. So yeah, thanks, Prabhu. So yeah, ISV is one such unique case of association where people actually start dancing and jumping with joy on the very first day. So yeah, going back into the role of inspiring others here. So that's the last point I'd like to communicate today. The story of Lord Ramachandra, Hanuman, Sita, and the Ramayana towards the Sundarkand. So Ramayana has different kand. There's a Balakand, Ayodhya Kand, I think there's Sundarkand. Their kand means different sections, right? And those sections are focused on certain stories. So while we know that the hero of Ramayana is Lord Ramachandra, the hero of that small section called Sundarkand is Hanuman. So it happens in the beginning of Sundarkand. What's happening here is that they have hints, Jatayus and Sampati, and all those things happen. And Lord Ramachandra has a kind of faint idea that Sita Mata, his wife, has been kidnapped and she is in Lanka. Okay, Mataji, can you mute yourself, please? Thank you. So the story goes like this. So they have a small idea that Sita Mata is somewhere towards Sri Lanka and Ravana has kidnapped her. And now they have to do the next step of getting the full confirmation. And somebody has to go to Lanka and meet her and find out the whereabouts of where is Sita. So at this point, what happens is, there's an army of monkeys and animals and bears. We know that, right? So the question came, who would go to Lanka and find about Sita Mata? So some monkeys said, maybe I could do 10, 20 or 30 yojanas. So one yojan is around 8 miles. And the distance was around 100 yojanas, 100 yojan distance. So some monkeys say, yeah, I can do maybe 10, others say 20, 30, 100 yojana, maybe not. And then there is a warrior, a monkey warrior. His name is Angad. So Angad was one of the strongest, the mighty people of the monkey army. And he says, I can do 100 actually. But maybe I cannot come back from there. I have some doubt on my capability. So there's 10, 20, 30 yojan jumpers and there's 100 yojan jumper, but he's one way. One way ticket you take somewhere. I don't know you come back or not from there. So that's the story of Angad. I have a one-way ticket, right? So then there's Jambavan, the bear, right? He actually starts pouring out some words of wisdom for Hanuman. So Jambavan, he reminds Hanuman of his extraordinary strength. Hanuman was not in the picture until then. They were all the monkeys and Angad and Jambavan. Then he brings in Hanuman and says, he's one such person who can do it. He can go back, find out where is Sita Devi. He can come back and tell us all the details. So this is how the genuine appreciation encourages, it empowers, and it strengthens a person's morale. If we do fault finding, the fault finding disempowers, discourages the person. It weakens one's determination. And that's another beautiful aspect of association, of inspiring hope in others, in the devotee circle. At times we feel low and we may be doing something for the first time. Maybe I'm not good in reciting Sanskrit verses in the temple. Everybody is reciting 20 shlokas every day. I'm not doing something. Or maybe everybody is just a great book distributor. Or there is somebody who is a great preacher and I am not. Or maybe I'm a good preacher, somebody else is not. Or I'm a great cook, or I have different skills that I have developed over time. And all of us in the Devotee Association have done those things. Some are good singers, harmonium players, mridanga players, cooks, dancers, book distributors, preachers. There is no dearth of services in the Krishna consciousness life. Everybody is engaged and we develop certain kind of expertise over time. But then there are people we need to inspire. And that's where the beauty of inspiration comes into picture. The association allows us to inspire the people. It gives us an opportunity not to discourage them or weaken them, but to boost their morale. As much as Jambavan and all the other members of the monkey army were doing to Hanuman. Now, Hanuman is now so enthusiastic hearing this. Now he says, I can go around Mount Meru, Meru Parvat, 1,000 times, go round and round without stopping at all. I will just go and splash the water of ocean and I can bring the flood to the entire world. He's so enthusiastic now after hearing the appreciation from Jambavan. Now he's saying, I can circumambulate the Garuda, the Lord Vishnu's, the bird, he carries him. So I can circumambulate the Garuda 1,000 times. Even if the Garuda flies in the sky, I can do so many miraculous things. I can uproot the entire Lanka city. And this is what the genuine appreciation and empowerment to Hanuman did to him. But now it's the time for Hanuman to reciprocate back to the army of monkeys who was feeling dejected because they could not find a trace of Sita. Nobody was capable of jumping around across the ocean and going to Lanka. And they were feeling disappointed and they were low in morale. Now Hanuman's statements, I can do this, this and that, it empowered the monkeys and it brought enthusiasm and energy in the rest of the monkey army. So it might look that Hanuman was boasting himself, but if you look at the intent, he was trying to bring the enthusiasm back in the army of monkeys. And then Hanumanji changes his role. So Lord Hanuman, he goes to Lanka, and then he meets Sita Mata there. And Sita Mata, as we know, she has been kidnapped by Ravana, and she is sitting alone in the Ashok Vatika there in the garden. So Hanuman goes and introduces himself, like, this is me, and Lord Rama has sent me. And Sita Mata has a doubt. How can Lord Ram and these monkeys and all these, this small army of people, just not even humans, right? They can cross the ocean and come to Lanka. So now Sita Mata is in a state of not acceptance, or state of denial, we call it, right? How can this happen? I just don't trust it. The Hanuman changes his mood, and if you contrast with the previous incident where he was bringing all the thrill and enthusiasm to the entire army of monkeys, now he becomes so humble and submissively explains to Sita Mata and says that all the monkeys in the Sugriv's army of monkeys are equal or superior to me. It's very easy for them to cross the ocean and come to Lanka. See, it's the inferior, just the inferior of the people. Like, I am the one who is here, who has been given the charge of communicating the message. I'm the messenger only. But look at the famous warriors. And all of these people are more qualified and more capable than me to come over and cross the ocean and come to Lanka. So now this is where Lord Hanuman inspires Sita Mata. So we see the sharp contrast in how the story of Sundarkand evolves, where somebody who himself needed the inspiration to boost his own morale, he reciprocated back to his monkey army in the same way. And then, humbly submitting to Sita Devi, he went ahead and placed the same army above himself. And this is the real purpose of association. How do we inspire hope in others? How do we empower others? How do we make sure that everybody in our circle feels empowered? Everybody is walking on the path of Krishna consciousness. Somebody is in 3rd grade, somebody in the high school. So it's a real story. I was in India a few years back in Jagannath Puri. I was actually traveling from Bhubaneswar to Puri, and the taxi driver, he was wearing a kanti mala, tulsi mala, the beads. And I asked him, are you a devotee? And he said, Prabhu, I don't know much. Somebody like you from ISKCON, they came and they told me to plant a tulsi, in our place, and I'm doing, my wife and we do it. And they told me to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So some devotees in the past trip, his passengers, inspired him to do some tulsi service at his home and chant the Mahamantra. And we don't need any college education for that. And that person was humbly submitting. He submitted to those devotees, he surrendered to them, and he started worshipping tulsi at his home. And he told me that I am not qualified to read. I am not college educated. I'm not even high school educated. I can barely read Sanskrit or Hindi or whatever, Odia. But then he made a very important point that, sir, you are traveling in the aeroplane. I am coming in my small train. I am walking fast. You are walking. I'm walking slow. You are walking fast. Somebody is here. Somebody else is there. And that's such a powerful point that the taxi driver made the other day. And I still remember that day. That made me realize that our role in the association of devotees is to inspire hope and empower people like that taxi driver. People who need genuine encouragement. We should do everything to empower them and encourage them and motivate them, and not do anything to discourage or weaken their determination. So we discussed a few things. I'm going to summarize all of these things today. And in summary, I have this slide. I'm going to share my screen once again. So we talked about how the association of devotees is contagious. We heard the story of the Narad Muni, how he got inspired as a small child. We also looked at the story of the FSK KGB agent and Valmiki's story, and obviously the story of Narad and Mragari, how the transformation happened through association. Then we also read from Uddhava Gita, Canto 11, where Krishna is directly, very, very clearly telling Uddhava that association of devotees is the core principle and it is not a secondary or a peripheral activity. And last, we discussed how is the role of inspiring others in counseling in the association of devotees. So with that, I see there are a few minutes left in the session today, and I'd like to thank everybody for your participation, and would like to welcome any questions or comments or reflections that you can that you think that can help others in taking something back from this session today.
Just want to thank you, Prabhuji, for the lecture today. We learned a lot.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, this is Gyan. I just wanted to say thank you very much. And I've been associated with you for the last 1 year. And I remember the first thing you said, getting involved with ABCD. You mentioned ABCD as the devotional activities, and first was the association. And today I learned so much details about some of the examples you brought up of association and how it really applies in different situations. So I appreciate you explaining all this, and it gives me further appreciation of why association is such an important activity. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna,
Ashram
Prabhu.
Prabhu, he's our host today, and he is taking care of our audience on the YouTube, Facebook, and I'd like to communicate and convey my sincere thanks to all the audience who are attending on the YouTube and Facebook channels. And if you have any questions, feel free to comment and pass it on through Ashram Prabhu. But if not, we are just at time almost 8:30 here, Pacific time. And we still have time for some questions or reflections. So I'm still open to it.
Yeah, I was just remembering, when you mentioned in one part that in the purport of that 7.16 verse of Bhagavad Gita, right? Even the miscreants by chance, they come in contact with a devotee, they can transform into pure devotees. I was remembering who could be a bigger miscreant than Jagai and Madhai, right? In Chaitanya Charitamrita. And they came in contact with the, the compassion of Nityananda Prabhu. Jagai and Madhai hit him with a broken pot, and he
So it's a pot. They broke the pot on his head. Actually, that's what happened. They hit it so hard, the pot broke.
Yeah, he started bleeding, and still in return, when Mahaprabhu came, right, and he asked, to give them mercy, give your devotional service to them, and they turned into pure devotees. Right? After that,
That's so true.
Remembering that. So if they can become, anyone can become. Basically,
Yes.
No one should feel disheartened.
And it's our role, who have been experienced and practicing for some time, that whatever love and affection we can share with everybody around us, it's going to inspire and empower them to go to the next stage in their devotional life. So it's our duty for each one of us here.
Thank you.
Any Prabhu comments you can share from Facebook or YouTube? Is that like to see
We don't have any question, but there is only one comment in Facebook, not in Facebook, sorry, YouTube. Thank you, Rafael Bandas. He's saying thank you for your valuable instruction about good association.
Thank you, Rafael.
Have any other questions or comments?
All right, then I think we are doing a good job on the time here. We are 8:31 p.m. here. Thank you again, everybody, for spending your precious time in this Wednesday evening session. And a special thanks to audience dialing in from India and Dubai in different time zones, as I know it's early morning for them. And I'm very grateful to each one of you for your participation and asking questions and sharing your reflection. So with that, I'd like to close the session and with a small prayer. That means that all the devotees of Lord Vishnu, Lord Krishna are the ocean of mercy. I'm seeking your blessings and your support to be a good servant of everybody. Vancha kalpatarubhascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patita nam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah.
Yaśodā-kṛpā Prabhu ki jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hari Bol.
Hare
Dear
Krishna.
devotees, thank you for joining. We will now close the session. Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.